be shooting a video here with Coach Ant, and we're going to be going through wrestling sweeps from bottom half guard. We've been looking at how the bottom half guard, we have a basic trilemma that we work with. We have roll through sweeps, we have back takes, and we have wrestling sweeps. We've seen roll through sweeps and back takes already so far, and now we're going to go and look into the world of wrestling sweeps, where I come up and I take my opponent down from the legs, either with a single leg or a double leg. I generally refer to wrestling any situation where I'm coming up to my knees and I'm trying to fight their legs with my arms, or I'm clinching with my arms using body locks, things like this, where it's a lot of upper body work. I tend to classify that as more as wrestling. So we're going to see that quite a bit. I have three general directions that I'll go with my wrestling sweeps. I'll go with a linear double leg, where I come up from half guard, I drive straight across my partner's body, trying to get the second leg. I have methods where I can circle in front of my partner's body with a circular single leg, and we'll show that. That's one of my favorites. And then we have techniques where I can circle behind my opponent's body, and we can go into a rear double leg. Okay? So, let's get into this. I'm going to show the linear double legs first, then the circular single leg where we go forward, then the rear double. So it might be a situation where I'm defending, right, holding off with my frames. I come up to my elbow, I shoot my underhook, and I get into this good position here. Now, we make a pass off from an inside hook to an outside hook like we've been doing. We come up, we heist up. Now right away, I want to cover Ant's knee with my knee so he doesn't knee slide free. If Ant's able to slide his knee out in the way, now he can turn and face me, and he's going to get me in a front headlock, guillotine, things like this. So from my outside hook, I generally recommend covering his knee so that he can't knee slide out. Okay, I'm going to move this hand quick, thank you. So we're here. Now, the first two techniques we're going to look at are linear double legs. We're going to look at one where the knee is down, or maybe my partner is a little bit more naive and they leave this knee on the floor. And then we'll look at another one where the leg is up, like so, where maybe my opponent is a little more tactically aware and he's hiding that leg from me. So let's do the knee down first. So from here, it's very tempting to want to reach across and grab the knee from here. The problem with this is if Ant sprawls his leg back in a way, I'm never going to be able to hold on to that. So rather than going for the knee right away, I'm going to recommend that you take good head position with your head under his head, and you drive across to put your partner's weight over their left leg. Let's rotate. Now my left hand here is going to reach down, and I'm going to grab his foot as much as I can. Now when Ant goes to sprawl that leg away from me, it's much harder. Now I go in, I grab the far knee, and I suck the knee in. Rotate. Now once the knee is in, I don't just want to let go and hug, because Ant is going to hip heist back up to his knee, and we're right back where we started. So once I collapse his knee, I'm going to cover it with my elbow. So now when Ant goes to hip heist, my elbow keeps his knee from going underneath of his hips as a base of support. Now, we're going to work our way up the body, looking to climb up the body. I'm going to reach and grab the wrist, and I'm going to pass his wrist from my right hand to my left hand that's behind his body. Now I'll start to tripod up, walking around. And now let's come back in a little bit more. Now from here, I like to pressure down into my opponent. A lot of times they'll take the whizzer out on their own, and now I can step over, put in a full claw grip, and I have an easy back take. If he doesn't take the whizzer out, if I'm pressuring in and he's keeping the whizzer in, it's not super comfortable, but some people will put up with it. Then it's not a big deal. I can just step over, I can release my left arm and take a cross face, and I end up in the mount position. So that's our linear double leg against a naive opponent who keeps the knee on the floor. Next, we have an opponent who's a little more tactically aware. They're going to post that foot. And I'm going to grab the inside of the knee, right here. Where I take 4 fingers right into the inside of the knee. I pull and make a flap of cloth, and then I grip that flap. Do you remember how when I grabbed the knee with my hand, Ant was able to sprawl away and free his knee from my hand? This grip, when I grab the inside of the knee, it's so hard to sprawl away from. He can sprawl that leg back and away as hard as he wants. It's so hard to get that grip out of my hand, okay? So once again, we get into our good position with an outside hook. My hip heist up, I cover the knee. Another option to covering the knee is you can also post your right foot if you need a better base of support. So if I'm in here and I feel like he's pressuring into me more, I might need to post this foot so I can drive back into him. That's fine. Now from here I want to reach across and grab the knee, the inside of the knee right here. Now when Ant goes to sprawl this leg away from me, he can't get it out of my grip. Now I'm going to once again use my good head position to try to drive him up out of position like so. Now I want to try to pull the leg in. The problem is there's weight over that leg, and when I pull it, it wedges right into the mat. So what I want to do to pull weight off that leg is I want to actually use my tight waist to pull Ant into me, to take weight off the leg. Now when I pull, I want to pull out and around a little bit so he goes down. Nice back up. Even with a light leg, if I pull straight, his foot wedges into the mat. But when I make that leg light, I pull it out, I can force his hip down to the mat. And now we're in our same position, where I cover the knee, I feed the wrist, my tripod, and we come back up to our good position here. So that's our linear double leg, where our opponent posts the knee up. We grab the inside of the knee grip, I pull his weight onto his near leg to unweight his far leg, and I pull the far leg out from underneath of him. So those are our 2 linear options with a double leg. Next, I want to show you guys my favorite option, the circular single leg finish. The reason this one is my favorite is because it uses more of the power of my legs to take him down. Unlike the last 2 that we just looked at, where I reach across my arms and it's really quite a bit of my arms doing the work of pulling in either the leg or the knee. This one is more the mechanics of his bent leg being pulled out in an awkward position using the strength of my own legs. So it's much more energy efficient. I find this works, pretty good against people who are much bigger or stronger than myself. For this one, we'll start this way. I might show this one in another angle as well. So, however we get there, I get up to my good grips, I make my outside hook. I'll take my time if I need to. I want to make sure I get my ankle underneath his ankle. Okay? I come up and I heist. Now, once again, he has that leg hidden from me. So I'm going to take my left hand here, down below his butt. And I put my hand on the floor right behind his knee. When my arm comes below Ant's butt and hips, a lot of power comes out of his whizzer. Let's understand something about the whizzer here. If I keep this up straight across his body like this, and Ant goes to apply pressure and drive into me, he has an immense amount of pressure and power from that. But if I take my arm here, and I go up either over the far shoulder, or the near shoulder, now when Ant tries to pressure down with that whizzer, get a good bite with it, it's just not the same. It doesn't have the same power. Same thing if I go down below the hip. Put in a good whizzer for me. Thank you. Go down below the hips. Now when he tries to put that power into the whizzer, he just doesn't have the same power. It doesn't have the same bite as it does when it's up here. Put the whizzer on. Where now you can put a ton of, go ahead. Now he can put a ton of power and pressure in my shoulder, and I feel everything. So with our circular finish, my left arm comes down here below the butt, and I take my wrist right here behind his knee. I want to keep his knee down on the floor. Now I'm going to turn in with my head, and it's going to be my legs as I circle in front that force Ant's leg into this weird unnatural position that rotates his hips, off balances him, and drives him down to his hip. In addition, I'm also using my head to drive into him. If I wasn't using good head pressure driving in, he'd have no reason to go down. So it's the combination of my leg pulling his leg out to the side and my head driving back into him that puts him down. Once he goes down, it's the same story from here. I'm going to cover the knee. So now Ant tries to hip heights back up to his left knee, he cannot. I make a pass off. I come around. And I'm ready to go to work. I'm going to show that one from another angle so you guys can see my legs. So we're here. I make a hook underneath of his ankle. I come up. Now, my left hand goes below his hips and down to the back of the knee. I want to keep the back of his knee, I want to keep his knee on the floor, and I want to keep his knee bent. My head is going to begin to drive and pressure in toward Ant. But the real magic happens with my left leg. Watch, I'm going to use my knee to pull his ankle out in this awkward direction, forcing him down to his hip. Now I cover the knee, I make a pass off, and we're ready to go to work. So that is our circular single leg. The last one I'm going to show you guys is a rear double leg. A double leg from behind. We just looked at a technique where I circled in front of my opponent. Before that, we saw techniques where I went straight across to my opponent's second leg. Now we're going to look at a technique where we circle behind the opponent with a rear double. So however we get there, maybe I'm playing butterfly, and I scoot into my half, I make my outside hook, I heist up. Now I decide I want to go behind my opponent. I'm going to do the same thing with my left hand. My left hand is going to go down below the butt here to take some of the pressure and bite off of his wizard. Now we're going to use the notion of an asymmetrical tripod or an angled tripod. My goal is to push into the back of Ant's hamstring, applying forward pressure until his left knee touches the floor again. Remember, when that knee's off the ground, it's hard to do good work. If I can put that knee down, it'll be much easier to take him down. So I'm going to go here. I can either cover the knee with my left hand. I can either cover the knee with my left hand if I want to stop the knee slide. Or I can also go hand over hand in front of the knee and pressure up, kind of arching my back. Almost like the cat-cow stretch, where you arch your back up. I'm here, I arch, and I go into my asymmetrical tripod. Put your knee up for me, and thank you. Keep that knee up. Now I'm going to go into my asymmetrical tripod, making my left shoulder lower than my right shoulder as I circle around behind until that knee goes down. Now from here, my right hand is going to control the near knee, and I lower my level, and my left hand goes across either to the far ankle, or even better, to the far knee as I continue to drive. Now I can come up and cover the knees, and we can climb up the body the same way we did before. I'm going to show that technique from another angle. I'm going to show it with our butts facing the camera, so you guys can see how I'm angling my body to make this tripod work. So we get into our good position. I make my outside hook. I heist up, my left hand goes down below the butt. Now when he goes to put that wizard pressure on, it's just not the same. Now my left hand can either cup the knee to stop the knee slide, or I can go hand over hand in front of the knee to help me gain height. Now from here I'm going to angle my body as my knees come off the mat, and I circle, putting that far knee to the floor. My right hand controls the near knee, my left hand goes and controls the far knee as I continue to drive. And now we're back to the same good position. We can cover the knees, we can make our pass off, and now we're ready to go to work. So there you guys have it. 4 great wrestling sweep options from underneath half guard. Just a quick recap. We had a linear double where my opponent was a little more naive and they kept the far knee on the mat. I reach cross grab the ankle first so they can't sprawl that leg away. We get the ankle first, then the knee, and pull it in as we drive. The second option was another linear double leg where my opponent was a little more tactically aware and he takes the knee off the mat, posting the foot. I reach cross grab the inside of the knee. I pull the weight off that leg and I pull the leg out at an angle so the leg moves very freely, ripping the leg out from underneath of him and you put him down. Then we saw 2 circular options. The first one, I circled to the front, using my outside hook to bend Ant's leg into an unnatural position to off balance him and force him down to the mat. And then we saw an option where I circled behind my opponent into a rear double, where the notion was I use an angled tripod or an asymmetrical tripod with my left shoulder lower than my right, using that low shoulder to drive into the hamstring with the goal of putting the far knee back down to the mat. Once that knee is on the mat, it's easy for me to control both knees, continue driving, and finish a rear double. So 2 linears going straight across, 1 circling in front of my opponent, 1 circling behind my opponent. So there's your basic framework. And then remember, you can always go back into another technique from our previous weeks, from our other trilemma. If I'm trying to wrestle in my opponent and he's pressuring into me super hard, let's show this one down here. Let's say he's posted up with that far leg, and I get this knee grip, and I'm trying to drive, I'm trying to pull, and he's driving. Just roll on through and take the sweep. Okay, so don't forget you always have the other options, roll through sweeps, and back takes to fall back on. When you can work all 3 of these tactics, strategies in unison, going from roll through sweeps to a back take, back to a roll through sweep, to a wrestling sweep, back to a back take, back to a roll through sweep, back to a wrestling sweep, etc. It's so hard for your opponent to defend them all. Because when your opponent defends one, say he defended the wrestling sweep by driving into me, he gives me the other. He makes the roll through sweep easier. Those 3 work in unison so well. So make sure you study all 3 of them and make all 3 of them a big part of your game. If you can do that, you'll have a half guard game that's pretty damn difficult to stop from the bottom position. Thanks for watching, guys.